to the conversion of fuels. In one plant, they don't want us to convert to fuel, they want to buy the sugars. But we can do that too, because if it'll make money, we'll do it. The laws and the regulations to accomplish an actual facility, especially the gravity pressure vessel itself, are in place, well established. We know a lot about the geology, and the gravity pressure vessel construction is actually a very simple process. Now, let's see if we can get this to do. Now, we'll probably skip that for a moment, but I also want to point out here, time is running a little bit late, but the one advantage we have commercially is this is one of the few processes that can get insurance efficacy coverage based on the engineering. That's important for financing. It answers the will it work question, and if you have the complete backing of the insurance companies, then you've got that thing pretty well licked. Again, I'd like to emphasize the importance of a minimal land, air and water pollution impact. It's a very tight, closed system. It's self-sustaining economically and replicating, in that the income derived during the life expectancy of the plant could build 2 more plants. So that's part of the secret of being able to have self-growth. Minimal natural resources, obviously. Return on investment. To us, it's more important to be profitable than it is to be cheaper, because that's what really makes it self-sustaining. Minimal use of capital. It costs about half as much to build one of our plants than it does to build an incinerator or a gasification plant. And frankly, we're facing a time when there may not be enough capital to go around, and we have to meet that need. Right now, the requirement for ethanol is set by legislation, not by supply and demand. There is some talk that the EPA will advance the ethanol requirement to 15%, but it doesn't look like that will come to a head for a decision until at least sometime around Thanksgiving. But for now, corn ethanol plants actually have a remarkable excess of capacity, and there's even several ethanol plants that have gone under and shut down, and oddly enough, it looks like by our analysis they're being purchased by the oil companies. We don't know what's going to happen, but right now it doesn't take much for the oil companies to simply jack up the price of diesel, and all of a sudden corn ethanol becomes a crisis. But we offer an alternative, cellulosic ethanol, and we have the advantage as far as the costs are concerned. But nonetheless, I think that ethanol would be a good deal, especially if it's homemade and we're not importing the fuel from overseas. Quick recap: sustainability, return on investment, what they mean. Community wastes are actually a natural resource. A return on investment equals growth and sustainability. A waste no waste campaign, no accumulating liability. Self-help, minimal loss of wealth for the community. Recycle in kind to its highest and best use. Waste conversion, less fossil carbon emissions. Process at the source, avoided transportation. One processing center, economics, scale, and collection. The minimus emissions, healthy air and land and water. Genesis is about 18, 19 years old. We have 120 shareholders. We're strictly a free enterprise approach system. We have a couple of small plants that are looking for aid or help from the federal programs, but it's mostly centered on the reality that the smaller plants, 100, 200, 300 tons per day, do need economic help. Once you get above 400 to 500 tons per day, then we're pretty much in a position where we can proceed. I want to thank the host and thank you for your attention. Despite all the practice, we still have technical problems.
Thanks, James. I have only a few minutes to give a short presentation, but I'll make it very brief because of our time. I'll jump right into it. I'm the president of Reclaimed Resources Incorporated. It's a new company set up specifically to solve some of the problems that we face in Southwest Virginia. RRI, as we call it, is taking the first steps toward addressing some of today's clean energy goals and create this energy from a completely renewable source. What we are proposing is an ethanol plant that uses municipal waste as its feedstock. As you heard from James Ditmas a few minutes ago, this process is viable, and working with respected engineering and construction firms, we propose to build a plant in Southwest Virginia that will handle a minimum of 500 tons per day of waste from this region. From a business perspective, this is what you may call a win-win situation. Typically, manufacturing facilities must purchase their feedstock to make their widgets. In our case, there will be a negative raw material cost. This comes from the tipping fee that normally goes into a landfill. Typical manufacturing facilities do not get federal subsidies for their products. In our case, the federal government is offering many incentives through grants and low-cost loans to get plants such as I am proposing up and running. In addition, they are offering twice the subsidy for non-food-based ethanol than was offered for the corn-based product. Typical manufacturing plants have to send their products off to faraway places, whereas our product can be used locally for blending with gasoline for cars or in our chemical plants that use ethanol in the creation of their products, like Eastman Chemicals in Kingsport. The plant we are planning will be sized to produce between 40 and 60,000 gallons of ethanol daily, or well over 10 million gallons of ethanol yearly. We expect to build our plant on a 50 to 100 acre site and employ upwards of 100 people from this region. Another benefit to this plant is the need for highly skilled workers who will earn up to an average of $45,000 annually. Depending upon funding realities, we have yet to determine a firm schedule for this plant. We are in discussions, preliminary discussions, with several engineering firms, several local localities to help us reach this goal. We can be assured of being up and running in 18 to 24 months from our groundbreaking date. We really need nothing special in the way of infrastructure, just the typical water, electrical, and domestic sewer. And thanks to Congressman Boucher, the IT technicality capabilities that we have here are already available. This will allow us to interconnect several plants together and also our own offices with the local plants. We also require